WarGames! Okay, nobody shouted it like that at this event. We got that a bit in the build-up with Rhea Ripley. We did get Ozzy Osbourne, War Pigs. We got The Cage. We got 5 matches. Premium live event from Vancouver. This is my WWE Survivor Series WarGames 2024 review. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications to get all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, assorted thoughts on Raw and SmackDown, wrestling opinion pieces, premium live event prediction videos, and of course, reviews. Now, I'm recording this on Monday, December the 2nd. It's just shy of 6 p.m. So I've seen WarGames. I haven't seen Raw tonight. I will watch Raw tonight. In fact, the assorted thoughts on Raw might come out before this video. I might end up finishing the recording or even the editing after. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, WarGames was in Vancouver, Survivor Series. I was very excited. Bit of an early start time, which was kind of cool. It meant I had a bit of an evening, well, not evening, a bit of a night after. So all good. Let's get started where WarGames got started, with the women's WarGames match. The side with the advantage, the babyface side, formerly Team Bianca, now Team Rhea. You got Rhea Ripley. You got one half of the women's tag team champions and the EST, Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Naomi, and the newest member, Bayley, versus Team Liv, I guess. Women's World Champion Liv Morgan, WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax. Also, there's Raquel Rodriguez, Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. The entrances were great, and I really loved Rhea's mask. Very intimidating, very artistic, very intense. We started with a SummerSlam rematch, Nia Jax versus Bayley. We got the birthday girl, Naomi, and a bit of interplay with a toilet seat. Yes, there was a kendo stick at play, then Jax somehow got the toilet seat, and then the baby faces got control of it. They had it over Nia Jax's head. Naomi gave her the stink face. It's her birthday. She can do what she wants. It was a fun little spot. Then we had Candice LeRae sidestepping Tiffany Stratton, who was going to come in. But Candice got in first. And the EST, Bianca Belair, brought a bunch of weapons. There were some tables, I think some kendo sticks, a bunch of garbage, trash can, bunch of stuff in the ring. And after her, Stratton sort of barreled in, and despite the weapons, took care of pretty much everyone. Then it was Io Sky's turn, certainly the most memorable entrance. Having already wowed everybody with her trash can jump last year, Io looked under the ring for the can, which was already in the ring, and then she kept searching, and she found her customized trash can, painted different colors with strings attached so she could use it, put it on her back, and climb the cage. Took her a bit to get into the cage. She left the can up there. Candice LeRae came, I guess, to meet her, to attack her, and she ended up not pulling LeRae down, but getting into the ring herself with the trash can up there. Then it was Raquel Rodriguez. Then Rhea Ripley came in and cleaned house. Michael Cole even remarked she was the only one still standing after everyone else was down. When it was time for Liv Morgan to come in, you think Liv is running away, but she's actually running to get a baseball bat. She comes into the cage with it. Rhea was not intimidated, even took off her mask. I kind of hoped she had kept the mask on the whole match, but she still looked cool, but I guess trying to show that she's ready to fight. She doesn't need the mask to protect her. But it was a nice effect, even though it was also a weapon. But I guess weapons are allowed in the match, so who knows? Then, of course, the bell rang. Let the War Games begin. Things really picked up from this point. Then we got Io's once again spectacular trash can-covered moonsault off the top of the cage, and a simultaneous swanton bomb off the top of the cage, the other side of the cage, from Tiffany Stratton. When they were setting up for this, I thought that maybe they were going to somehow connect in midair. I didn't know that was possible because where they were positioned. But no, it was just simultaneous. But I guess it was just to take out all the other baby faces and all the other heels, because Tiffany Stratton poked through the garbage can and pulled out her Money in the Bank briefcase. I knew she had snuck it in somehow. When she was going through the garbage can, I knew that's what she was going for. But yeah, she pulled it out. Huge pop from the crowd. Michael Cole was even saying, how does this work? Because both Liv Morgan and Nia Jax were on the ground splayed out in front of her. She actually says she's going to cash in, but before it's official, Raquel Rodriguez comes in to stop it. And instead of saying, I'm just going after Nia. But yeah, how would that work in the match? What would happen? If she pinned both of them, would she be a double champion? Or moreover, if she pinned her own partner, would she both win and lose the match while winning the championship at the same? It was confusing. Anyways, there was a stop put to it. I thought they were going to bring it up at the end, but they didn't. Io Sky broke up the whole scene with her fire extinguisher spray. We had Liv trying to hit the Oblivion on Rhea from the top rope. Didn't happen, but Rhea did hit a riptide on Liv from the top rope through the table. 1, 2, 3. Rhea Ripley pins the Women's World Champion. And Team Rhea, the babyface team, are the victors in the Women's WarGames match 2024. Okay, so the story was a decent story. It was a bit predictable, but there were some twists and turns. There were some like wondering, who took out Jade Cargill. Can they coexist? Kind of paid by numbers, but still decent. I'd say B+. For the in-ring storytelling, I'm definitely gonna give it. I'm gonna say an A-. I'm almost tempted to say B+, but actually no, yeah, B+. It was good, but there was some. First of all, it took a little while to get going at the start of this match. I mean, it was still fun to watch, still entertaining, but it only got to the pace it needed to be later in the match. So I got to take off a little bit for that. Also, even though it made sense ultimately why Tiffany and Io were doing simultaneous big aerial moves, I think having both of them happen at the same time and the fact they didn't interact kind of one detracted from the other and vice versa. So you got to take a bit off from that. But it was very imaginative. So yeah, B+ for that. In-ring work, A+. These are all pros. They know what they're doing. This was excellent. I don't think there were any botches. I mean, there was maybe one that I saw when, I don't know if Io was supposed to come off without pulling off Candace, but I don't know. I don't know that there was something different planned. Definitely an A+ with that. Crowd, A-. I mean, it was a decent crowd. They were into it. It was a bit of an odd crowd. Wasn't the best crowd I've ever heard. Overall, I mean, there's an intangible factor, which is just a fun factor. I give that an A+, but overall, I guess I'm going to have to give this one A-. But that said, I really like this match. This was a really fun match to watch. There's a reason why Io Sky is always in WarGames. It's because of moves like, even though it's a repeat of the move from last year, so lost a bit of points for the in-ring storytelling because they repeated something. But as long as they don't do it every year, maybe the trash can gets more elaborate. I don't know. This time it had colors on it. It had the little thing. There was for story. Yeah, there was some story in this. There's a lot of good story in this, but it was mainly the whole Rhea Liv story. The mystery with Bayley was there, but it sort of took a back seat. There's, of course, the tension between Tiffany and Candice LeRae that was played off well. And Tiffany, she's got to cash in soon. I mean, I think this might be the longest time a women's hold the Money in the Bank briefcase ever. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I guess because Drew gave it away so easily. But still, really fun match to watch. If you want to just see a fun match, be entertained, and you want to choose any match in this show, I'd say go with this one. It doesn't maybe quite match up to other WarGames matches I've seen, which is why I'm going to give it the A-, but still a very fun and solid start to the show. Next up for the United States Championship, the champion LA Knight versus challenger Shinsuke Nakamura. This was obviously the biggest surprise of the evening. It started with a really cool and intense looking new entrance from Shinsuke Nakamura. I guess WWE figured LA Knight was going to get a huge pop, so they put up the crowd sound meter. It went pretty high, but not as high as I think they were expecting. We had the face-off in the ring. LA Knight took an early lead. That was until Nakamura hit a back elbow. LA Knight hit a burning hammer, got control, got a 2 count. Knight tried to hit the BFT, but Nakamura escaped. Nakamura hit a really nasty-looking neck breaker on the area between the 2 rings. Remember, they're only in 1 ring, but there's still 2 rings for the previous WarGames match. That really took Knight out of it, and he followed up with a Kinshasa. 1, 2, 3, and new United States champion, Shinsuke Nakamura. Okay, for story, honestly, C+. Yeah, this could have been a much better story, and I think it will become a much better story. It just did at the end of this match, but there wasn't enough build going in. There was just like a few attacks, actually 3 attacks on LA Knight, one with the mist, and he didn't even have any kind of like altercations or there's a promos from Nakamura, but not promos from Knight. So yeah, C+ for that. In-ring storytelling, it was an A. I mean, for the limited amount of time, yeah, the match was under 10 minutes long. They did tell a good story in ring. In-ring work, also an A, perfectly solid. I mean, especially that the spot between the 2 rings, that looked particularly rough. And maybe it was. Who knows? I mean, they really sold that. Knight sold that well. Nakamura pulled that off well. As far as crowd, the crowd really wasn't that into it. I was going to give them like, maybe a B- or a C+ on this match until the end. This sheer shocked look on the face of people. They zoomed in on one guy in the crowd who was really shocked. So you know what? They did their job. So I'm going to have to give the crowd for that an A+. And the overall surprise of everything, the intangible factor, I'm going to have to throw another A+ in. So overall, even though this wasn't really that good a match, it wasn't really that long a match, just because of the sheer shock of what happened and the way they executed it, an A. This is definitely a memorable match on this card. Now, I kind of like what they did here. I was not thinking, I thought that Nakamura was going to get the championship maybe the next time, and this was going to be a DQ. I think a lot of people thought that too. But no, they gave it to him this time. It really seemed too soon. It came out of nowhere. I mean, Knight held the title from SummerSlam to Survivor Series, which is a decent reign, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get it back. I don't think we're done with LA Knight, but we've definitely given a bit of a rocket ship to Shinsuke Nakamura. And I think he's someone who deserves it. He's been, the guy taking the losses, doing the job, so to speak, with some very high-profile people. But the fact that he won, I guess it shows anything can happen. And this match really drew me in, especially at the end. So, good job. In a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship, the champion Bron Breakker defends against challengers Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. After the face-off, Kaiser slipped out, leaving Breakker and Sheamus to go at each other for a bit. Kaiser did come back in with a chair. Didn't work. At one point, Sheamus hit them both with a clothesline. Kaiser tried to grab Sheamus's shillelagh, but Sheamus took it back. Then Breakker hit a really nice flying clothesline on both men on the announce table. At one point, Kaiser was next to the barricade, really satisfied with himself. But Sheamus came up behind him through the crowd, hit the 10 beats of the Balrain. Then he hit the 10 beats on Bron Breakker. Back in the ring, he hit Breakker with a white noise. Brogue kick. At this point, I almost thought Sheamus was going to win. 1, 2, oh no, Ludwig Kaiser pulls the ref out of the ring. He was back up. He gives Sheamus this look, basically like, I just cost you the title, because Breakker was going to take the 3 if Kaiser hadn't have done that. Kaiser grabs the shillelagh, starts hitting Sheamus with it. He was almost going to win too, but they both forgot about Bron Breakker, who was now awake. Took them both out. Hit a spear on Sheamus. 1, 2, 3, and still your Intercontinental Champion, Bron Breakker. Okay, story. Solid A-. It was a bit predictable, yeah. Oh, gee. Kaiser and Sheamus keep interfering with each other's championship matches, causing disqualifications. And Breakker wants to fight both of them. I wonder if we're going to settle this in a triple threat. Obviously, yeah, a bit predictable, but quite a bit of build. Solid A+. In-ring storytelling, solid A-. In-ring storytelling, solid A+. In-ring work, A+. Crowd, they came up for this match, so I'd say an A. Throwing in the intangibles and everything overall, this match gets an A+. Now, yes, Breakker retaining was the most logical outcome. And I didn't think after the last match that they were going to do another upset. But Sheamus winning or even Kaiser winning wouldn't have been an upset. Both of these guys, I'm sure, will hold the Intercontinental title at one point. Sheamus probably just before he retires. And you know what? I really thought Sheamus was going to win at that one point, and then the performance from Kaiser just after the smug look on his face after he ruined Sheamus's chances just great. And of course, you don't forget about Bron Breakker because he's tough. Sheamus is known for banger after banger, but I think Bron Breakker is also known for banger after banger. And soon enough, I think in the past few months, and soon enough, Ludwig Kaiser will be known for banger after banger. So these were three guys who could go. This was a hot match. This was an intense match, very physical. I think Sheamus even got some cracked ribs. Sorry to hear that. But you know what? I understand. It's these guys. These are three guys that go all out, and they're a perfect match for each other. I'll break the kayfabe here. I know I said I was recording this on Monday, but that was the first part of the video. It's now actually Thursday afternoon, so I've seen Raw. That's going to come into play in a bit too. But yeah, so I heard that I think they're going with Breakker and Kaiser. That could be a good feud. Who knows? Maybe Kaiser might win and Sheamus might beat him, and then Breakker takes it back. I didn't think Breakker was going to lose it so soon again after losing it and then winning it back. But still, I was really glad I saw this match. This match, I think, woke the crowd up. And this match is definitely one of the few triple threat matches that goes in the annals of really excellent matches. Next up for the World Heavyweight Championship, the champion, the ring general Gunther, defends against challenger and former El Campeon, Damian Priest. This one had the big match feel from the start. That's something I've associated with Samantha Irvin in the modern era. But you know what? Alicia Taylor, she's really good too. She really adds to that intensity, big match feel. Also, her hair game can rival Nia Jax's hair game. Well, maybe not, but anyway, good start to the match. In a bit of a role reversal, Priest got Gunther into some submissions. He also tried to hit a Razor's Edge and a South of Heaven chokeslam, but each time his arm, specifically his shoulder, gave out. Gunther did get the upper hand. There were a lot of back and forth chops. Gunther got the upper hand again. He tried some submissions, even had Priest in a Kimura lock, but Priest reached the ropes. And at one point, both of them were taken out. And the referees were looking at Priest and at Gunther. I think Priest was saying his arm, so there was a problem with his arm. He couldn't do anything. And then when the ref wasn't looking, Finn Balor came in, hit a coup de grace, and taunted Priest. Perfectly in character. Gunther wanted to win this on his own, was not very happy with this interference. He took out Balor. But then also perfectly in character, he took the win by taking Priest back into the ring. Hit a sleeper. Priest passed out. And still World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther. Okay, not counting one key factor. Let's rate it. Story, A+. I love the way that they showed in the lead up to this match, the build, that Gunther was unsure of himself. It actually made the prospect of Priest winning, which we all knew wasn't going to happen, seem like a believable one. And that was excellent storytelling. In-ring storytelling, also A+. In-ring work, especially for the in-ring storytelling, one of the key reasons I loved it is the way Priest was selling his shoulder, and everything made logical sense why everything was happening. There were no botches like the last Gunther Priest match where Priest actually had to roll Gunther into position for the interference. Crowd, in-ring work A+, crowd A-. Still, this wasn't the best crowd, but so there's also the intangible factor. I can't ignore the fact that this was Judgment Day, in particular Finn Balor interference, which was the one thing I hoped wasn't going to happen, specifically because I didn't want them to go back to Priest versus Balor. But also, I wanted it to end clean. Now, I would have taken a lot off. I would have brought it down to I would have factored in like a C-. I would have brought it down to which was going to be a solid A or A+. I would have brought it down to a B- if I actually had rated this on Monday. But I've seen Raw, and I've seen that, no, they're actually not going with Priest versus Balor. They're going with Balor versus Gunther, which is an interesting match. I'm sure Gunther's going to win, but that's going to be a very interesting match. That's something we haven't seen. It's not retreading an old story. So also the fact is now now Gunther, he didn't get the satisfaction of losing all his doubt and winning clean. He didn't win clean against Priest. The last time he lost to Cody Rhodes, so that doubt still lingers. He didn't get the victory he wanted. So that actually is decent storytelling. So that raises it, but I can't fully, it doesn't completely cancel that out. And I have to act like I was pretty much rating this on Monday, but I will factor at that in a bit. I'll give it a B+. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was really well executed on both parts. Priest doesn't always execute things 100%. But the build, everything was great except for the Balor interference, although that wasn't as bad as I thought. So yeah, this was a good match before the main event and a good World Heavyweight Championship defense for Gunther. And now our main event, the men's WarGames match. So we had the new Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and I guess guest Bloodline member Big Bronson Reed versus the OTC Roman Reigns. Main event, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, the OG Bloodline, plus CM Punk. We started up with the new Bloodline, started off with Tama Tonga, and he started climbing all over the cage. I thought that was funny. I'm still warming up to him. I think he has his charm in his place, and that was kind of an interesting way to start the match. We had the babyface team, and in particular CM Punk, apparently going off script, taunting the people already in the cage. And of course, they all got, including Roman, they all got into the cage before the last member was introduced. Of course, it was main event Jey Uso coming through the crowd and walking right into the cage. I thought that was a great choice. It also got around the whole Roman Reigns is not coming out last, but he's not coming out last for a reason. Of course, the advantage was to the new Bloodline team, so Big Bronson Reed was the next one in. He took care of Jey for a bit. We got Jimmy Uso evening things up. And then the next for the new Bloodline was supposed to be Tonga Loa, but Solo held him back and sent in Jacob Fatu. Knowing that his guys were in trouble, it was time to bring in the Samoan Werewolf. Huge pop for the heel, Jacob Fatu. CM Punk was ready to go, ready to enter. We got a great bit of storytelling. Roman blocked him, sent in Sami. It's great storytelling, but also great crowd work because the crowd went, ooh, when Roman blocked Punk. But then Sami Zayn was there. And yes, I'm from Montreal. He's from Montreal. I know Vancouver's not his hometown, but he is Canadian. He is really over. So everyone's like, yay, Sami's here. We got the awkward shot of Roman and Punk together with each other, locked in the cage, waiting. As this is going on, Tonga Loa enters. He helps Jacob Fatu bring 2 tables into the ring. And then it looks like Roman's going to come in, but CM Punk just sidesteps him and goes out first. Roman's obviously shocked and upset, but he's accepting it, sort of like a little brinksmanship back and forth between them. Punk grabs a toolbox from under the ring. Looks like the exact same toolbox he used at Hell in a Cell, the one that busted Drew McIntyre wide open. He hits Jacob Fatu with it. Jacob goes down, but then no-sells it, comes right back up. Amazing bit of work from Jacob Fatu there. Solo's the last in from the heel team, and he locks the cage. Locks Roman out of the cage. Roman comes in for a while. It looks like he's saying, I'm not Io Sky. What, you want me to climb it? But no, he tries to break it and he ends up climbing the cage. And as someone who's known for a lot of things, but not being an aerial artist, Roman does a dive onto the people. Picks almost all of his teammates up except for CM Punk. CM Punk gets up. They're looking at each other, staring each other down. Paul Heyman comes in, talks to both of them as the peacemaker. The referees finally cut their way into the cage. We hear ding, 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 let the war games begin. After a lot of back and forth, Bronson Reed does a tsunami off the top of the cage as Roman Reigns lays below on a table. But just at the last second, CM Punk saves Roman. Reed destroys the table. Jimmy Uso takes out Jacob Fatu, hitting an Uso splash from the top of the cage onto the table with Jacob lying on it. Solo's the only one still standing on the new Bloodline team. He's surrounded by all the babyfaces. One by one, they hit their finishers on him, including CM Punk. Then Roman spears him, pins him. 1, 2, 3, and the OG Bloodline team wins WarGames. Of course, there was tension at the end of the match. Sami was the one who had to tell Roman, like, we won it with him to get CM Punk and him to shake hands, and they all did the pose with the wands. Punk doing the go to sleep. Outside of the cage, Paul Heyman hugged CM Punk. CM Punk reminded him of the favor. Roman Reigns just gave him a pat on the shoulder. Heyman was happy with that. We don't know that that's future storytelling. And they all slowly headed down the ramp. Now, I was sure that this meant someone was going to come in. I mean, Punk came in after the final credit at last year's Survivor Series, and I was sure The Rock was going to come in, especially when they get to the end. And Punk even goes backstage, and he's obviously sent back out. And they all do their pose. But no, nobody came in. Punk sort of went in front, did the go to sleep. I'm sure they did that on purpose to make us think there was going to be a surprise at the end. But you know what? They just gave us a happy ending, and I think that was great. Okay, so story. It's the Bloodline. Biggest story of the past few years in the entire industry, and it's at one of its high points. So A+, in-ring storytelling, A+. Everyone did an excellent job. There were some in-ring work to A+. There were a couple of injuries. I think Bronson Reed hurt his foot when coming off the top of the cage to do the tsunami through the table. Jimmy Uso also, I think, broke his toe, but he was lively in the press conference. They also continued the story in the press conference with Sammy and Jay and Jimmy, and then Punk sort of kind of barges in and steals the attention. And they brought that attention back to Raw when Sammy and Punk were a bit standoffish, but then they shook hands. Audience, crowd reaction. It was a weird crowd. I'd say A-. They were chanting like Tonga Loa sucks when it was Tama Tonga who was in the WarGames, and chanting for CM Punk when he wasn't even in there. And I realized after there was stuff going on in the small little shark cages that the audience was reacting to. So strange crowd, but still vocal. A-. Overall, A+. This was an excellent match, and it's so rich in story. They told so much story within the match, especially the part with Punk and Roman sort of, butting heads there, people coming in. You could feel the tension, but the spots were excellent. Everyone looked strong, even stronger than he did before. And it gave a happy ending, but you know that things might still happen down the road. They left it like that. It was an excellent end to this WarGames, very story-driven, and it made sense at the end why they had Bronson Reed and CM Punk in there, because it's developing other stories while also completing this story. And Roman pinning Solo, 1, 2, 3, was the right way. Now Roman can actually have a fight with Solo for the Ulafala to officially become the tribal chief before the Rock comes in. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future, but I was definitely satisfied with the men's WarGames match. A great way to cap off the show. And these were my assorted thoughts on the 2024 WWE Survivor Series WarGames Premium Live event. So overall, I was definitely satisfied. Of course, the highlights were the men's WarGames match and the Intercontinental Triple Threat match, followed shortly behind by the women's WarGames match, which wasn't as good as last year's and started a bit slow, but was still a really fun spectacle. We, of course, had the Gunther and Damian Priest match, which was, it was a very solid, very good match, except for that little bit with Finn at the end. And then we had not that great a match between LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura, but that surprise at the end and the work from both guys made it worthwhile. So do you agree with my thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Voice Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, at Silo Wrestling on X, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. Of course, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. My assorted thoughts from Monday's Raw are already up, and after this, there will be my assorted thoughts on Friday's SmackDown. For Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.